What is going on, guys? Good morning. Here we are for another episode of the podcast, coming into you live on this beautiful Australian Monday morning, and in Canada, the US, the UK, and all the other places on this side of the world, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Guys, we're going to be getting started in this episode in just 2 minutes, and I've got for you a very, very practical episode to come up here, okay? This is going to be super duper practical and very relevant for what we are going into for this month. So pumped to have you here, guys. Let us know how your weekend was in the comments. We're getting started in just 2 minutes, guys. By the way, if any of you aren't on the sparkling, naturally flavored mineral waters, these have been the thing that has led to my my hydration actually just becoming good again. I've made a connection that if I don't have these cans en masse in my house, I'm just not in the habit of drinking water to the same level. So little cheeky hack, get stuck into these ones. Guys, we're starting in 1 minute 30. And like I said, this is going to be a super practical episode. I'm going to walk you through some really simple hacks to get using MyFitnessPal properly, and I'm going to be doing it with you on the screen here. So hopefully I can kind of coordinate my screens enough that it actually is practical and works for you guys. So who we got in here? Matty Clark, how are you, my man? Starting to get some momentum here, brother. It's great. Kenny and Hayes, how are you guys? As reliable as clockwork. Same as Lauren. How are you, Loz? Love you coming in here as well, Jace. Nicky boy, happy Monday, my friend. Burns is in here with her good man, Steve. Stevie, come on, mate. The crew wants a podcast. Hello, Katie. How are you, girl? Chris is here. Chris, Tezza, what's going on, guys? We're starting in just 45 seconds. Hello, Josephine. How are you, girl? I hope you are well. Shawnee boy, what's going on, my friend? Xanth is here as well. Jen's here as well. Cherie, I'm here with eager ears. That's good, because I think tracking is one of those things that is an absolute bugbear if you're not doing it right. And so I really hope to deliver some value in this podcast. So guys, I reckon, you know what? We're just going to get started. Hiya, whoever that is. Good mate, and you, I'm fantastic, Maddie. Thank you so much. We're going to get stuck straight into this episode right now. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about MyFitnessPal hacks for crazy fat loss results. And the reason that I'm saying this is because I think a lot of people, what happens is when they get stuck into MyFitnessPal, it's a new skill, okay? And at the start, when you're using MyFitnessPal, it's a pain in the ass. It's hard to use. Now, you guys, as you know, if you're inside of Better Body Academy, we are starting a new meal plan this week. I'm interested in how many of you are actually going to follow the meal plan starting today, okay? The reason is that, look, there are plenty of reasons to kind of do what you've always done, but if you want results, nutrition is the path. I don't know how many times I can say this before I'm black and blue. So many people, when they think of weight loss, what they do is they go straight to, all right, let's get stuck into exercise. Guys, exercise, okay? It has been shown to be basically useless as a fat loss tool without being paired with nutrition. And you might ask, well, why is that? Well, it's the simple reason that it takes 3 minutes to eat 500 or 600 calories. It takes at least an hour to burn off 500 or 600 calories through exercise. And so inside of the academy, the goal is to give you a basic structure to your eating with a meal plan at the start. And then as you get more confident with nutrition tracking, you move down the line of what I'd call the freedom eating formula. This basically means that you can eat whatever you want. As long as you hit the numbers, you will win. The problem is people want to go from the meal plan to essentially intuitively eating without any practice using MyFitnessPal or without any tracking. The problem is, and I've said this numerous times before, this is a skill. And, I was looking at some science over the weekend, and it was really interesting. The science basically said that more and more information is coming out that when people aren't losing weight, oftentimes, most of the time, it's not that their metabolism is coming down by huge amounts due to them losing weight and adjusting them into plateaus. It's actually because they're just not doing the thing. And if I look at the best transformations that we've had inside Better Body Academy, there are people that I've just tracked. People like Linda, who I believe she's up to like 500 days of tracking in some form her foods in a row. It is the most potent skill you will ever possess for weight loss, bar none. So with this episode, what I want to do is try to help you out a little bit. I'm personally committing to tracking everything that I put in my mouth for the course of July. And my gosh, it is just so awakening, even for someone with my level of experience, to go back to actually tracking. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So let's get stuck. I'm going to give you 10 mindset or hacks or tips right now to help you track with MyFitnessPal. So let's get stuck in. Number one, I think, is the most basic. And that is, if you are flat strap with work, it is 100% better for you to enter all of your meals in advance of the time that you're eating them. Let me make that simple. For me, I sit at a desk all day and it's my business. So if I want to go and take a break right now, I can. For a lot of us, we don't have that luxury. We have a lunch break. And so if we're just like on the hop, or we're running our own business where we're just running around like a hairy goat all day, you are going to really put yourself in a difficult position if you're trying to track and run, okay? You're going to forget things. Even though in a relative sense, I have it easy in that I'm back to back to back, but I can go and take the time to track. I just forget things, right? And I've noticed this over the course of the last 3 days. And then what'll happen is I'll go, oh, I forgot to enter that 45 mils of milk that I had in my coffee. Oh shit, I just had those 3 eggs that I completely forgot to enter. Or I entered the eggs but not the cottage cheese. And so, if you are super flat strapped, the simplest thing to do is do this. Either you're working off a meal plan or you're making your own foods completely free of a meal plan, but you enter them in advance and you just stick to that thing. You either stick to the meal plan or you stick to the foods that you enter in advance. If you're tracking on the run, it's going to be very, very difficult, particularly at the start. So to all of those of you that are quite new to tracking, look, it's going to be easier for someone like Xanth or like Joe or like Terry who've been doing this for a long time. If you're new to tracking, enter it at the start of the day or the day before, the night before, when you're sitting on the couch doing nothing. Enter it in and then just stick to that. So tip number one is as such. Tip number two, this is that if you eat a consistent pattern of food, MyFitnessPal makes this super duper easy, okay? MyFitnessPal, it basically shows you a list of history, okay? Now, you're going to see, if you're watching this video live, not on the podcast replay, you're going to see MyFitnessPal on your screen here. You can see here, if I'm in the position where I go into diary and I want to add a food, I'm just going to pretend that I'm adding a lunch food. As you can see, I'm tracking for the day. MyFitnessPal gives me a history of exactly what I have eaten in terms of the most frequent food items. So if I'm eating the same thing most days, okay, of the same amount most days, this means that all I need to do is go bang. MyFitnessPal, the more recent updates have made this so simple. You used to kind of have to search for it. Now you just press that plus button. You just go bang and it's entered in. You don't even have to do any thinking. So to those of you that are following the meal plan that we just released, most people kind of want some variance, okay, in their life. But the truth is, I think that one of the biggest success skills you can really have is to follow the same plan every day. So for example, I have protein oats every single morning. I then have an instant coffee every single morning. I then come home and have another instant coffee every single morning. I then have cottage cheese and eggs every single lunchtime. And so for me, it's kind of like very, very simple to track because I don't actually have to think about it. Does this make sense, guys? So let me know what you prefer to do. I'm interested in what you specifically like doing because whatever the case, if you are the sort of person that is entering the same thing frequently, you just go to most recent, or you can change most recent to most frequent if you prefer. And what that does is it'll show you in the history a sorting of the actual items. Makes it super, super simple. Let's get to number 3. The biggest change that you can actually make to lose weight. I'm not talking about with MyFitnessPal. The biggest change that you can actually make is to eat more whole foods. This is going to lead to the weight falling off you. Why? Because whole foods in their natural state naturally contain less calories than packaged or made up recipes and meals. So the thing with this is not only does that eliminate the calories and increases the protein, which is exactly what we want to lose weight and fill us up at the same time, it makes tracking very, very simple. Think about it. Let's take the difference between you needing to be on MyFitnessPal and you needing to enter steak and veggies, of which each individual item that needs to be weighed is actually just one item, versus trying to enter a beef casserole. The more things that you've got in it, the harder it is. So for me, tracking's quite easy because my meals are often 2 or 3 ingredients only. The moment that you have to pump in a bunch of extra ingredients is when it becomes more difficult. Okay, number 4. People ask the question about, do I need MyFitnessPal Premium? Okay, so unless I'm mistaken, one of the annoyances of the MyFitnessPal recent upgrade is that if you don't have a premium account, you can't use this barcode scanning feature, which allows you to scan items like this, okay? And it will tell you exactly what's in the food. That's really annoying, okay? So if you don't have that feature and you want that feature, there is a hack that you can do to not have to pay for it. I'm going to show you how to do it, and it doesn't work on all accounts, I will say this, but I've come across this little hack on YouTube. You go to More in the bottom right-hand corner. You go then to Settings. You go to Profile, and under Location here, I want you to change location to United Kingdom, okay? I'm not sure why this works, but for a lot of people reporting on YouTube, change the location to United Kingdom and it starts working. Now, I've got a comment here saying I'm not premium and I can still scan. Can you let me know actually who that is, because you haven't authorized Restream? But with that being the case, if you are someone who signed up to MyFitnessPal more recently and you're not seeing that, I want you to give that a try, because there's a lot of reports on both TikTok and YouTube that that's actually a workaround. That said, MyFitnessPal Premium, is it worth it? Well, depending on how much difficulty you find entering foods manually as opposed to using the barcode scanner like you used to be able to. Maybe MyFitnessPal has aborted that. Okay, so Cherie's saying, same here, I can still see it. It might be that you had a new or an existing account. So for me, I have an existing account. So Hazel's in the UK, so that's why she can see it. I have an existing account, and I've had it for years before they did the update. But if you're new to MyFitnessPal, as in the last, I think it's about a year, you may not have that scanning feature. Okay, next. I want you to disconnect, that is, disconnect all devices from your MyFitnessPal. There is a reason that I'm saying this. If you go into your diary on MyFitnessPal, what it's going to show you here is how many calories your goal is. For me, I'm trying to just keep hammering around about that 2,800. It will then take away how much food you've actually consumed on the run. What it will then do is if you have connected a device under exercise, it will add what your tracking system, usually a wearable like a watch, it'll add that back into the goal. So in other words, let's pretend my goal is 2800 and I've done what my watch says is 500 calories worth of exercise. The goal that MyFitnessPal will allow me will actually be 3,300 calories. There's two issues with that. Number one, it is completely inaccurate. It is completely inaccurate. We never pay attention to calories burned. Number two is that nutrition is the most powerful part. So we don't want to go and start like adding on and almost like, because we have this, because I did this exercise, I'm allowed to drink these beers. That's completely the wrong mindset. You just want to treat nutrition as its own entity. So to turn this off, if you can see numbers under exercise, you should not, and you should go to more in the bottom right-hand corner. You should go to apps and devices, and any devices that appear under connected, you should disconnect them, okay? Disconnect them. All right, next hack. This is one that's like, I don't think not many people know, and it's a really good, this is my favorite hack. So normally what happens is when you're trying to, we track two things in Better Body Academy that we care about. Number one is calories, and number two is daily protein intake, right? Everyone on board with this? And so the way that you do that is that firstly, you have the calories up top so it can tell you how much you've consumed and how much is remaining. Then what you do is slide to the bottom of the diary, the diary page here. You go to nutrition and then you change this to day view. You go to nutrients in the middle and you will see here how much protein that you've consumed today versus your goal. So you can see here, I've consumed 92 grams of protein per day. I want to flex screen and show you a little trick that means that you don't have to leave this diary page. You ready for it? Here we go. You simply turn your phone sideways on the diary page. When I found out this feature, I was like, oh my God, that is a lifesaver. It's such a loop to get out of that page. So you go from the normal diary page that's in portrait mode, you simply turn it sideways, and what that will do is if you slide down to the bottom here, it will tell you how much protein and how many calories, and for that matter, everything that you need to know. You can see here the 72 grams of protein that I've had, the 118 grams of protein, that's where it actually is. So all you do is literally turn your phone that way instead of holding it the other way. And because obviously it's giving you more screen space, that's why it actually works, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Try that out. That's brilliant. Yeah, Katie says as well. It is. I totally didn't know it until more recently, so get stuck into it. Got a few more for you. Okay, number 7, create meals for really common items. You can actually do the same thing for recipes, but for me, I told you guys I eat the same thing all the time. So I could create a meal that I'm just going to plug in on repeat. As an example, on the meal plan that we've released for you this week, protein oats are a big feature. Now you can go and add in every day the same things, or you can just create protein oats as one meal and then be able to add protein oats rather than the 4 individual items in protein oats. Let me show you how to do that. So we're going to go into, I'm just going to pretend it's a breakfast food. So this is the first morning that I'm doing it. Going to go under breakfast. I'm going to go to where it says all my meals, I'm going to go to my meals. Okay, now I'm going to create a meal. Okay, I'm going to name the meal protein oats. What I'm then going to do is under meal items, I'm going to add the individual items in that meal. So for me, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go search oats, and I'm going to say that the first one, and you can see there's some BBA entries here. I usually have a flavored packet of oats, and I have 2 packs of oats. On the meal plan for most people, it's 1 pack of oats, by the way. But I have a higher calorie allowance. So I usually have 1 pack of oats flavored and then 1 regular pack. So I'm just going to add these two here. One, that's added it there. I'm going to go back to add food again. I'm going to go to, sorry, I went out of it. Sorry, I knew this will happen. Okay, so protein oats. I'm going to go in here and add the meal. Okay, I'm going to go to, okay, guys, I'm not going to walk you through it, but that's how you do it, all right? Otherwise, it's going to look out crappy on the podcast. So I'll try one more time. Protein oats. Oats. Okay, let's try again. All right, add meal items to this. So we're going to go to oats, not Pats, oats. We're going to add it in. Here it is. Okay, we're going to press the tick. Okay, I'm now going to go to the next one, and I'm going to press the tick. Now when I go back into my meals, okay, it will have stored them there. All right, once you're doing this properly, it'll store them there. It looks like a bit of a workaround, but it is quite simple actually. It's just that I'm doing it on the spot. All right, so let's keep going. I think another hot tip that I've got for you is that eating out is like tough because you're going to be guessing. So over the course of the weekend, I've decided that I'm going to commit right away to this July, okay? Tracking all my meals. My mother-in-law asked me would I like to come to a dim sum, essentially at a Chinese restaurant with them. I would have liked to go to dim sum, but I know that it is impossible for me to accurately track what is going on inside of a Chinese restaurant. It is actually impossible. Now, that's not to say that you need to become a social, isolate, but at the same account, I want to commit to this July. So I'm making, I guess, changes for me that allow me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm being able to keep pace. So if I go to a Chinese restaurant, or if for you, you're eating out constantly, if you go to takeaway joints like McDonald's, most of the items are actually listed in MyFitnessPal database, so it's actually easy to use. But if you are going to a random Chinese restaurant that's not a commercial brand or a takeaway joint, it is very, very difficult to insert. So I personally try to avoid eating out. Or what I do is, for example, I had ramen the other day. I searched ramen and I entered in the highest calorie ramen that I could find, so I knew that I wasn't underestimating my calories. Does that make sense, guys? All right, we've got two more hacks for you that I think are really, really good. So the first one is using the Australian Food Standards database if you're just unsure what is the right reference point to use for a certain food. So what I might actually do here is go over to Google and show you actually how to do this. So this is if you just literally are unsure. I want you to type in NUT tab. NUT tab stands for Nutrition Tables. And these nutrition tables come out of the Australian Food Database. You're not going to get any more accurate than this. So you go to Google, type in NUT tab, you will get this website. You then go into searchable database and you will find all of the different options. So I'm just going to search here apple as an example, and it's going to give me the individual items. Okay. Now this means that if I have a Granny Smith apple, bang, I click that item. These are the validated entries from the Food Standard Australia website. So it's going to give it to you here in per 100, per gram, and then of course a sample serve. For me, this is a good way to be able to check if you're just having one of those ones where you're just completely unsure of what is actually the right entry. Now, the final tip that I want to give you is this, and this is probably more of a advanced thinking tip, and I would love everyone moving towards this. This is really going to help. So when you think about your nutrition, we track in 24 hours, right? We track in 24 hours because without a start and an end to the day, well, how else do we do that, right? But the reality is no person eats 2,000 calories every day, Okay, so if you look at me going back here, this is I'm going to go back to when I started tracking. So this was the first day I started tracking. I was actually at close to 2,300 calories on the first day. Okay, and you can see here that I had calories left over. So the next day, I was back over my 2,800 calories. So this was Friday, 2,959. The next day, I was 2,529. Now, so far, at the moment, I'm 1,200 calories into my day today. So it's not as if on the days that I am 271 calories left over that I lose 271 calories worth of fat. Or the day that I am over by 159 calories, I gain 159 calories worth of fat. It doesn't work like that. What I would love you to get in the habit of looking at is this. I want you to go down into the way that we can check our macros in more detail. I want you to go to nutrition. Now, under nutrition here, you're going to get calories, nutrients, macros. It doesn't matter what one we look at, but I'm going to go to calories. What I want you to do is change the view here just above the date. So rather than day view, you get week view. Now, why is that important? Because this is going to give you a floating average. Do you see the difference? So if I go into week view, it's going to give me a floating average as opposed to, so I'm going to show you here, if you look under the graph itself, you're going to see net calories under goal, which doesn't really matter, but see net average, 2,593. So if your goal is 2,000 calories, your days look a little bit like this, but the net average for the previous week is around what your goal actually is. It all balances out, okay? So for example, if your calorie intake towards the weekend is typically a little bit higher, what I would be doing is paying attention to your net average, okay? You can change it to this screen if you prefer. You can look at it at this screen if you prefer. It doesn't matter. But the point is, what matters is the average number of calories you're consuming per week, not any one day being critical. Does this make sense? So hopefully those tips are helpful. Going into July, guys, for me, like just doing 3 days of tracking again has made me realize, it could be just perception, but I'm looking at myself in the mirror over the last couple of days, and it's just incredible what being in control of your nutrition does. I've got no doubt that despite the fact that I thought that I was eating around about 2,800 calories, my calories were floating out to about 3,500, okay? The reason for that is, I've mentioned this on a training the other day, every time I went past the toaster on the way for a pee, I'd just put a bit of raisin toast in the toaster. Or I'd have that little glass of this. Or I'd jump into that little fruit snack that I have. You know those little kiddo fruit snacks? And what ends up happening is that we don't take into account those tiny little variables. And so you have 5 or 6 snacks that are 50 calories, 60 calories over the course of an entire day. It feels like that's nothing. But you add it together, that's 300 calories. And so if you are over by 300 calories 7 days a week, that's essentially half a pound of fat that's accumulating per week. And when you put it in those terms, it starts to make sense. So guys, with the release of our new meal plan this month, I really want to urge you to go back to a month of tracking despite your experience level. Whether you're very, very new in the academy, or if you're the sort of person that's, tracked for 2 years but kind of gone away from it, just do it for a couple of weeks at least and inspect. Ask yourself, is part of the reason that my results have been a little bit slower than I might have preferred or hoped for, just because I'm not accounting for those little bits of human error or overestimations? Guys, again, hopefully this has been helpful. Any questions, please send them through to the success team. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you with a specific episode on MyFitnessPal. I'll see you guys in the next episode.